You're listening to the Mind Your Business podcast, episode number 54. Today, we're talking all about how to be successful. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm James Wedmore, and I've built a 7-figure internet business that offers the financial freedom to do what I want, when I want. And I'm the first to say that hard work and hustle are not essential ingredients for your success. So, how do you build a thriving business from the inside out? This is the Mind Your Business podcast, featuring myself and co-host Phoebe Mroczek. All right. Yes. Welcome to the show. James Wedmore here.
I'm Phoebe Mroczek.
And today we have a huge topic, how to be successful.
So before we get into the episode, James, I want to talk to you. As of right now, you are on your honeymoon at the moment, technically. Not right now, but when this show records.
Untechnically. When this episode airs, I will be on my honeymoon. Yeah, so Chelsea and I are going to Croatia for a month, and we're going to do a stopover in New York and London as well. It's really weird because I just would never associate honeymoon in London. And the way, I just don't feel like that's where people go. Usually people tend to go to like really tropical, spots for their honeymoon. Mm-hmm. But Chelsea's has been dying to go to London for a really long time now. And so she's like, well, we're over there. We might as well make a stop. So yeah, we're going to be there for a month, which I'm excited about because we're really going to take like a month off of work.
Really? Are you really actually going to do it though? I feel like you always say that and then you never do. So are you bringing computers, recorder, all kinds of like video equipment and whatnot, or what's the deal?
There will be a laptop. Yes, I will have a laptop and internet. I'm going to do my best to keep, the computer closed as much as I can. But that's actually something we really love. And, it kind of ties into what we'll be talking about today is that I love this experience of these workations where you're in a brand new location, inspired by the energy and your new surroundings, and you wake up in a new foreign place and you can work there. You can be inspired to do some writing or come up with an idea for a new podcast episode and then close the laptop and go on an adventure. And so for me, it's really weird. And people that live in Laguna, we always tease each other. I was just talking to my neighbor about this, that he just got back from Maui. He's our next door neighbor. So we live at the beach, and it's just laughing that we trade one paradise for another. And he's like, yeah, when we went to Maui, it was every day was adventure. And there's a lot of people that want to go on vacation and just rest and just relax and do nothing. And I kind of feel like I have that life here where there's a lot of downtime, going to the beach, going surfing, just passing out on the sand. And when I go on vacation, if you call it a vacation, more like a workcation, or a honeymoon, I want to go do stuff. Chelsea and I are both very active when we go to places. For me, it's really fun to do a lot of that play and also bring in the work component into it, definitely.
Totally. Is there any adventure that you're the most excited about? What do you guys have planned?
We have no idea what we have planned.
Cool.
My wife has planned it all. That was her thing. She really wanted to do it. I'm like, great, I will tag along with you. So I don't really know other than renting boats and going island hopping, and that'll be something definitely fun, as well as renting Vespas and stuff and just cruising around and exploring. Other than that, we're going to kind of learn as we go. That's the beauty of staying in one place. I'm a big fan of that, of immersing yourself in one place for a few weeks. So you really get to, you don't have to feel rushed. We got to do all this stuff all in one day because we're leaving and going to the next place and the next. So 2 years ago, we went to Positano, which is in the Amalfi Coast. And it's super small little village on, the Italian coast. And we were there 7-8 days in one spot, and you just got to do everything. And we rented a Vespa, we rented boats, we go snorkeling and kayaking, everything you could think of. And it was by the end, it felt like we lived there. This was our little town. Yeah, sure enough, we'd work. I'd work a little bit in the morning, make a video in the afternoon or something, and then the rest was play.
I have to say that on my motorbike trip, when we did it a couple years ago, Croatia was one of those places that I was so sad that we didn't have more time. So I think we were probably there for not quite a week, maybe like 5 days. And it was just so beautiful. And it was one of those like hidden gems that is not so hidden anymore. But now that people are starting to find out about it, but it's not the Italy, the Spain, all of the France, all these places, all these countries that you normally hear about on like honeymoon destinations or just adventure destinations. So I'm excited for you. You're going to have the best time. And it is just so beautiful. Eat everything and eat everything.
eat everything. Yeah. Explore the culture. So definitely, no, I appreciate that. So I'll be excited. So while you're listening to this, I'll be in Croatia. So we wanted to do an episode today talking about success and how to be successful. I jokingly like to make these bold, simplistic titles just, because we kind of like to go in the opposite direction than you would most likely think. And I think if we were to dive into this, how to be successful, I think where we have to start and where I want to play around with you here today on this call is the definition of success. Like, it's very funny that there will be two different people listening to this episode hearing how to be successful, and in their mind, they've already made it mean two different things. So someone's going to be like, oh, he's going to show me how to build a business. And someone else is like, oh, he's going to show me how to make more money. And he's like, oh, he's going to show me how to work less. And so already inherently, a lot of people have a different definition of success. And I think the true secret is that we have to start by creating our own definition. I mean, that's the success right there, is having your own definition of what it means to be successful is success in and of itself. And we have to start there. So I want to share some quotes before we kind of work with you to define what success means to you. There's some ideas and thoughts and quotes that I kind of want to share with you. So we like to reference the Abraham-Hicks work a lot. And so they have two quotes that talk about success. And they are as follows. The first one says, the standard of success in life isn't the things. It isn't the money or the stuff. It is absolutely the amount of joy that you feel. And that to me is extremely powerful. That if we are together on this call, if you haven't already, going to redefine what success means for you and you alone, at its core, it must be something that has to do with you experiencing as much joy and happiness as possible, as often as possible. And so we're going to kind of take a look at some of those things today, right? Take a look at all these metrics and standards of society of what is measured traditionally as success, and look at, is there joy there? And a lot of times, ironically, there's not. And if we come from a place of, like if we were to measure the amount of joy each person feels in the day, imagine what it would look like if the person with the most joy is the most successful, right? And I think that's a fascinating new spin or a new way to look at things. So I want to share this other quote. This is also from the Abraham-Hicks body of work. It says, the achievement of anything that you desire must be considered success. So it's the achievement of something, and it's something that you desire. Whether it is a trophy or money or relationships or things. But if you will let your standard of success be your achievement of joy, everything else will fall easily into place. For in the finding of joy, you are finding vibrational alignment with the resources of the universe. So essentially, to sum up the message here that Abraham is providing, is that it's really about finding, seeking, and experiencing joy first. And really, when we look to become successful, however we have defined success based on what our parents have told us, our culture has told us, our industry has told us, family, friends, teachers, mentors, whatever, we believe that at some level when we hit that, we will have joy. And I believe that what this Abraham message is saying is that you can skip all that and you can experience joy now. And the sooner you feel that now, it will actually bring more into your life that will continue the perpetuation of more of that joy.
Right. In the episode when I talked about my experience of going to the Abraham workshop, it was talking about momentum and gaining that momentum. And I feel like there is a joy momentum, the momentum of joy and having that at every step of the way, at every milestone, big and small, creates that momentum, creates that alignment and that receiving mode for you to start downloading more things, more ideas, more creativity, and just really staying in that space of alignment. So I love that quote. I think that's a really good one. I love if you will let your standard of success be your achievement of joy. That's amazing. I like that.
So how do you become successful? How do you be successful? Well, the simple answer is redefine or create your own definition of success first and make it have to do something with experiencing joy or positive feelings, emotions, and experiences on a daily basis. And if we come from it from this standpoint, we have to start questioning what society's definition is of success or what it means to be successful. Is success money? Is it sales or, launch dollars? I think, we've had an episode on this in the past. One of the worst things that you can do, one of the number one thieves of joy is the comparison to others. I mean, you want to talk about the opposite of joy. You want to talk about like straight up depression. Just start comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing, not knowing their story, how hard they've worked or what they've done. And then they've got some big launch number or big business or some result that you don't have. And that just, that'll knock the wind right out of your sails.
I found something when you're introducing yourself to people, especially in the online space. It's really interesting. I've been observing this a lot lately after a conversation that I had with one of my girlfriends in the online business space. And she was like, well, if you look at how people introduce themselves, they introduce themselves with metrics, with launch money, with with sales. And it's very heavily financially focused. And she's like, what if everyone just introduced themselves for who they are and what they stand for? That is a conversation that I want to be a part of. And actually, I love the deconstructing process when you actually look at what is success to you. And I kind of, this is an exercise that I did, I would say probably a year ago. And I just started journaling it out because I was getting really frustrated. And what I started to notice about my own self and, the way that I guess I've been taught and I've learned throughout my life is that money is power. And that was a message that came in really, really strong for, I guess, during my childhood and my upbringing. And so just to look at where those came into play, and I can remember very specific things that people said, my parents said or my grandparents said or anyone, and just to kind of reframe it and be like, oh, okay, and just start to question everything. And so this is why I feel this episode specifically is just a really powerful episode because it's something that I've been really working hard on. And, in our mastermind event that we had in New York a couple weeks ago, this was something I was talking to almost everyone individually about. We're talking about the launch, the strategies and all these things, but, you don't need any more content. You don't need the strategies necessarily, maybe a couple tweaks here and there. But what if we just reframed everything and just said, okay, now we're looking at your launch. How much freedom do you actually have here? If you're miserable, there's no point in doing it. So I love this kind of deconstructing of success and what that looks like. And if you can go back and journal about it, I bet you'll find some really interesting things and messages that have come in throughout your life, really.
Definitely. And I think something I really want to point out is that, there's the whole thing people say, money is the root of all evil. And people then create these stories about money and have these yucky relationships about money. And, then it can be pointed out that it's the obsession or greed for money that is the root of all evil. And there really is nothing wrong or bad about money. And in business, having an increased flow of money and abundance can really be a physical manifestation of where you're aligned and the energy that you have that's flowing. It's a very good sign. But what's important is the exchange or what's at stake to acquire that money. And at times, there's a lot of times where you really have to understand that whenever you are comparing yourself to somebody else or you're looking to someone else who you've now said, oh, that person's successful, chances are you don't know the full picture. And there's a great quote that goes something along the lines of, never compare someone's on-stage performance to your backstage presence, right? Or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. That someone that you're looking at may have what appears to have it all together out in the public eye. what you can see, what the general public can see. But you have no idea what could be going on behind the scenes. However, you know what's going on holistically with you and your business and your life. And so you're comparing that to this polished image that they've created. And so when someone throws out money numbers or sales or these launch numbers or starts an introduction with it, you really don't know the story behind it. And so then what we do is we get committed to say, I want to have that too. But we don't create these rules for ourselves to determine at what cost. You know, I'm a big fan of, hey, do whatever it takes, but you got to be careful with that as well. You know, you want $1 million? Fantastic. But at what cost? Is it going to affect your health, your relationships, you know, your family, your stress, time, frustration? That isn't success. Or maybe it is, right? And that's the beautiful thing, is that you get to define it the way you want. But most people that you truly find that are happy and continue to produce results over a long period of time have created much more of their own metric for what's important to them. I'm not saying it's necessarily balanced, right? Because there are actually, you know, arguments to not having balance in your life, which always fascinates me, right? Like, I like to do some things to the extreme. Totally. Like working for a month straight, doing launch where you're doing 12-hour days and then taking a month off. That's not balance. That's an extreme in one way and an extreme in the other. But when you have a clearly defined definition of success and rules for the game, you know, maybe it's things like, I only work 4 hours a day, and 2 times a week I have to take my wife out or my husband out to dinner, and we have to have date night. You look for the things that you can intentionally put into your life to give you joy now, and you will fulfill on this feeling and experience of success immediately.
I have an experience where, well, we've talked about on a previous podcast, the only thing I could really focus on was the fact that I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And that didn't happen. And I just remember being so disappointed, because for me, that was success. And there was just something around this $1 million mark that really defined me. And I identified as though I was going to be a millionaire at 30 and my life was going to be amazing. And I remember talking to one of my friends, and he was like, well, what is $1 million? Like, what does that actually mean to you? And this was a huge shift in my perspective, because the question, how would your life actually change right now if you had, if you checked your bank account and saw $1 million in there? And I realized in that moment, I was like, you know what? It actually wouldn't change. And I was talking to my sister about this at the time, about a year and a half ago. And she was like, Phoebe, you would still have the same $27 jeans that you bought at Target. Like, your life wouldn't really change that much. And, you know, that was it. In that moment, I realized that I have the life I would have if I was even a multimillionaire. I'm really happy with my life. I love what I get to do. I have the freedom. So I think when I had that conversation several times, because it was like this big aha moment, I started to ask myself, okay, so I want to be a millionaire. So that what? And when I actually looked and took a step back and answered that and journaled about it, it was like, I want to be generous. I want to feel generous. I want to feel confident. And I want to know that I'm truly making a difference in other people's lives and I'm really impacting people. You know, I had that realization that was like, well, why am I not just doing that now? I can be generous now, and I can be confident now, and I can really impact people now. And creating that momentum was really, you know, step by step. It was like, okay, well, you know, sure, I'm not going to donate, you know, $200,000 to my favorite charity, but I can still make a donation if that is how I feel generous. And that is my definition of success. And so when I look at my metrics for success, I'm looking at, you know, how much freedom do I have? Do I have the freedom to go on a walk and grab a coffee in the middle of the day whenever I feel like it? Yes. Excellent. I feel successful. Am I having fun? And this is like my big words around success now that I'm kind of reshaping it are like fun, flow, and awe. How am I creating that in my life right now? And do I feel creative? You know, all of these things that I'm trying as hard as I can not to associate that with money. And this is a really interesting conversation that I've had with several people over the last even couple of months. And I'm like, how do you define success? What are you looking for in your life to feel successful? And some of those conversations that have come out have been really interesting because I see how other people are defining it. And it's really interesting. Some people don't, they want to just like hang out, every Saturday with their kids. And that's great. And, knowing that that's how you feel successful will then dictate the actions that you take, on a day-to-day basis.
I think that's really powerful that as we're creating our definition, we have metrics, we have indicators that, really determine or define what success looks like for us. And when it comes to the money thing and people put those big numbers out there, I like to dig deeper myself and say, well, why did you choose $1 million? Well, why is it $1 million, right? What is it about it? Sure, that at the ego level, it's nice to say, well, I'm a millionaire, right? Mm-hmm. But the conversation that I've brought up with a lot of my students inside Business by Design, and it seems to really resonate with them, is that for most of us, we're not really after a lot of money. That we're not about like, let me see who can pile up the biggest, stack of cash. Let me get the biggest mountain. But rather, we're looking for an experience to have financial control where we can create money on demand. And usually when I speak to that to my students, like they just light up and are just like all like, hell yes. It's not about creating millions of dollars necessarily. And if it is, that is. But rather, it's about creating an experience where you can create money on demand, where you can say, honey, we should go on we need to go on our second honeymoon, or we're going to go on vacation next month. And that even if you didn't have the money to pay for it, you could find the way confidently and easily. And when I look at a lot of especially like the lifestyle entrepreneurs, that's what they do. It's like, great, I can do a launch. I can do a promotion. I'm going to do a one-day retreat at the destination where I'm going. I'm going to charge $500 a person to come and join me, and we'll teach for a day. And so what we want to do is begin to question these society's definitions of success, but then see if we can pull it back deeper to say, well, what's at the core of that? Why is it money? Why is it these big numbers? And chances are it's because we want to have a feeling of certainty and control over money because, listen, we live in a world where it's run by money. Even though Phoebe grew up with this belief of money as power, there are a lot of, circumstantial evidence to back that up. Mm-hmm. That when you have money, there are certain things you can do that most people can't do without money. Now, it's not an absolute rule or an absolute, belief. But for a lot of people, you can see how, well, if we had the money, we could upgrade. If we had the money, we could leave. If we had the money, we could take the time off. But there's a lot of power in that. And I believe at its core, we are all looking for that experience to have more freedom, control, power, and the experience to choose what we want to choose when we want to choose it. And so we let money be this fixation. And so maybe we don't have to, but you could let go of these big, crazy numbers that you're always comparing other people to and say, well, they did $1 million launch or that person did this. And really just look for, at the core, what you honestly really want. And maybe it still is that, but it could be something else. But it is a great time to question and define what success means for you. So we want to leave you today with a very simple 2-step process for how to be successful. And, I think step number 1 is to identify and ultimately question every one of society's definitions of success. So what did your parents tell you what success looked like? What have you grown up to believe success is? What do your friends, your colleagues, other people in your industry, like if I look at like online marketing and social media, I can see, it's got to be these big launches, making a ton of money here, right? So step 1 is to identify and question society's definitions of success. Step number 1. Just question it. Start to say, is that really what mine needs to be? Do I need to have that? Step number 2 is just to create your own definition of success. And it's simply based on what is important to you. What do you want? How do you want to feel? What do you want your day and your life to look like? if success is simply the accomplishment of something wanted, well, then we just need to identify what are the things that we always want. What are the things that we do want? And within that, we need to create metrics and rules for our success. So success might mean that you make $1 million a year. That's fantastic. But what are the rules or the metrics, the contingencies to that? You know, because you could make $1 million robbing banks. You could make $1 million working 18 hours a day. You could make $1 million, lying, stealing, cheating. But what I'm impressed with, what I get excited about, is the guy that's making $500,000 working 2 hours a day and playing the rest of the day. So who's more successful? The guy, or gal who's working 18 hours a day to make $1 million, or the person who's doing $500,000 and only working 2 hours? Well, it doesn't matter because it's your definition of success. So how do you define success? And what are the metrics and rules associated with it? That's step 2. And then step number 3 is to enjoy every single second of the process. This means compare yourself to others all you want, but it's just going to make you feel like crap, right? And it's going to take you out of that joy. So step 3 is really about finding joy in everything you do, in every moment of every day, and realize that now, in this moment, is your choice, your opportunity to be successful, to be the very embodiment of the definition of success that you have created. And I believe, as Abraham says, that the more that we feel and consciously choose that experience of joy now, it will continue to bring us and unlock and attract to us the things that we truly want, that we believe, or society tells us will make us happy and successful. So those are the 3 steps. Step number 1, question society's definition for success. Step number 2, create your own definition. And step number 3, enjoy the friggin' process, every single second of it.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you have any questions for us, please head over to mindyourbusinesspodcast.com and submit that there. And if you like this episode, please go ahead and subscribe. And if you haven't yet left us a review, we would so appreciate you doing that. You can just head over to jameswedmore.com/iTunes, leave us a review, and don't forget to subscribe.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.
Are you frustrated that no matter how hard you hustle, no matter how much you get done in a day, you still feel like you have little results to show for it? Do you feel like you're doing everything right, but there's still something missing? Well, what if there was an easier way? What if your business could be fun, effortless, and profitable? Phoebe and I have put together a free audio MP3 for you, compiling the 77 business affirmations for creating success from the inside out. And we want to give it to you absolutely free. This is your chance to rewire your brain for bigger results in your life and your business. To get instant access absolutely free, simply visit 77affirmations.com. That's the number 77affirmations.com.